Hi. I recently started working on a desktop application with Java FX, and I quickly realized that I need something really more familiar like HTML and CSS. So I was looking for ways to make integrated embedded browser into my application, and I found about WebView, which would turn to be a little slow for me. So the other thing I stumbled on was this Chromium Embedded Framework, and I wanted to embed this into my application, which wasn't really hard, except for the actual version was a little bit older, and I had to make a custom build myself, which took a bit because I wasn't really familiar with compiling C++ classes and stuff. So, and I really didn't find much information on the web. So I'm making this video for the other people like me who had problems with that, and hopefully it will be helpful. Okay, so let's start first with actually this is the actual build that is actually working, and you could just use it into your Maven project. So I have created a simple demo here, just an empty Maven project with this dependency, just to show you what's the actual idea. So that's simple JFrame class. We're just setting up the browser here, and let me show you how this thing looks like. Okay, so that, as you can see, it's really easy. You just have to write a simple JFrame class, but this is an outdated version. It's from 2017, and there are bugs inside, like for example, on some computers, when you actually press the close button, the application won't close. In this case it does, but actually on my other machine it just stays on, it keeps running. So the new version actually fixes those issues, so we are just gonna build it ourselves. So to do that, let's just type JCEF or Java Chromium Embedded Framework, and actually the first link is the repository. So there's a link for building the application. Let's go on that, and let's go to download, and let's just download this. Okay, I'll save it on the desktop. Okay, so it says that we're going to need cmake, git, java, python, so we'll install those. Let's start with cmake. And by the way, I'm doing this on a machine that doesn't have those required programs installed, just to be more realistic. Okay. Windows zip. I'll download that as well. Okay, here are the downloaded files. I don't know why it took so long for cmake, but anyway. The other things that we're going to be needing is Git, Java, and Python. So for Java, let me just quickly check my version. Okay, Java 11. So yeah, if you don't have Java, just go and install that. Okay, let me just extract this cmake. So I'll need to actually add it into the environment variable. So let's just go here. Oh, sorry. And just browse to the desktop bin. Okay, so we've added this. Let's just make a quick check. Okay, it's working. Great. So cmake is done. This is the actual repository. Let's just extract this as well. Okay. Let's rename that to be a little more easier. Okay. So now we're going to install Python, which actually we don't need to install Python directly. We can again we can use npm to install actually Windows build tools, which we are going to need for this project. So npm install global Windows build tools. Hopefully I typed that right. Yeah. So I'll just skip this because it takes a while to install all the dependencies, and I'll be back. Okay, so installing completed for me. I can see now if I go to actually in the repo in the folder tools, there are some Python files, so I can see that I have the association. So now on their website they actually say that they're using Windows, they're using Visual Studio 2015 to compile files, but I'm actually running Visual Studio 2017, so basically the difference is that Visual Studio 2015 is using an older compiler. So if you want to go with that, you can just install that. I'll just quickly show you. But in our case, actually, we're going to go with the new compiler. And if you actually go to desktop development with C++, you can check this 2015 version 140 toolset, which will include the compiler. So if you want to go with that, just click it and click modify. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so they're saying we have to clone the repository. I actually downloaded that, so it's similar. Now here we have to they say go to the main folder, so that will be here, and then they say create directory j-cef build and go inside. Okay, let's do that. Okay, next for Windows they're saying run cmake Visual Studio 14 Win64. Now we're not going to use Visual Studio 14 because this is the actual 140 version compiler. So here, let me just open up PowerShell. So instead of 14, we're going to use 15, which is the new 141 compiler that we should have with Visual Studio 2017. So let's run and let's see. Okay, so we've got an error on this file, make version header.py. Okay, let's just go and see what's the error here. Tools, make header, make version header. Sorry, that's the file. No. On line 129, 129. This function 64. Okay. Let's see, 64. Ah, okay. So it's checking if we have checked out our file. I mean our repository. We don't have Git because I just downloaded it. So I think if we comment this, it should fix the issue. Let's try again. Okay, so I think this time we succeeded with compiling. So now if we go to here, we will have this solution that we can open and build with the Visual Studio. So let's see what they are saying here. Okay, so first open the solution, then in configuration manager we can change the from debug to release the type of build. Let's just open and see. Okay, build configuration manager. Okay, and here we should change this to release. So, close, change it to release and build. Okay, so this will take a bit, so I'll probably skip and come back when it's done. Also, while this is building, if you have, while running the cmake command, if you get an error like some build tools files were not found, you can fix that by actually adding the Phat variable to the system. So I'll show you that while the project is building. So here you can just create a variable named vc, what was it, target Phat, and then the value will be a directory to the actual compiler. So C program files, Microsoft Visual Studio 2017, comma 7 ID, usually hidden for Visual Studio 2017, VC, and then VC targets. So that's your path. If you have this error, because on my other machine I had this problem and I had to manually set the path in order to be able to build. Okay, so we can see that the build has succeeded. We can close the Visual Studio. If we go to the folder that we created, native release, we can find finally the files that we're going to be needing. So I'm just gonna copy those like that, and because we're going to need them a bit later. Oh, sorry, no, not that. Okay, so let's start now creating the actually Java library for this. So create new project. Let it be maven. Let me just set the working directory to here, JCEF build. Okay, let me just copy the actual version of the Java that we're going to use. like that. Also, we're going to need a bunch of dependencies that are also present in the Maven. This repository actually depends on them, and that's actually where I got them from. So if you go to the POM XML, you can see those dependencies here, but they are using little older versions. So I went and actually found the newer versions on the Maven repository, so I'm just going to copy those and paste them in my project. Okay, so paste those like that. Okay, so we've got this. Let me just now, if you go to the repository folder, you can see there's the Java folder. We just need to copy those files here and paste them inside our project. Okay, so I just pasted those. Okay, let me just build it from the IDE. Okay, so about the Mac version, well, I'm not going to be using Macs. This application won't be running on Macintosh or whatever, so I'm not going to be using this class, but if you need it, you can find your dependencies and just import them in the Maven project. So I'll just delete that. Okay, so now it should compile, but the problem is that in order for this application jar file to function, we need this to be added into our environment variable, just the same as we did with cmake. So this is an okay approach if you're going to use this for development only, but in my case I want this to be as portable as possible, because I don't want to go ahead and make the environment variable for every computer that I install my application on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this dynamically, like the same way it's done with in this Maven repository, because if we actually take a look at what's inside of this jar file here, so here that's the jar file that we are importing from Maven. You can see that those files are present here, and what that guy has done here, he actually, while the application is starting, he copies those files on a temporary folder and then dynamically adds them to the system Phat environment variable list. So you can see that when we actually started the application, he created that folder and just made a copy of those files. So a really clever solution. So that's what we are also going to do now. Okay, so in order to do that, let's go to the other project and let's get those files here and let's just copy them to the resources folder. Okay, great. So now we're actually going to create the custom class that will make this thing happen, the actual process of copying and adding to the system class path. So let's say, I don't know, util, for example, and get this class that I've actually gone and created a copy of the class from here. We can, if we go here you can see that there's the actual class that we're going to use, but I just made a little changes. So if you go and if you're using IntelliJ, you can download the source file, so you can just copy the logic from the Maven build. But I've done that, and I'm just going to paste it in utils. Okay, so what does this class do? There's the list of files that should be copied. Also does the language packs, but that's what we want to focus on. So here, make sure if you're doing this in like after a year or two, if the files are different, make sure files match the names here match the files here. So because what we're doing here, we are iterating this array, and we're basically making copies from the jar file to a temp directory. You can see that the folder that I showed you, you can see where it's specified here. So yeah, also let me just I can use the new Java 11 method to save some code. Okay, now that's great, but this class isn't coded anywhere. So actually where we have to code this is in this class CF application. This is because if we take a look at the demo here, you can see that excuse me, mainframe. So you can see that we're actually using this CEF application to create the instance of the browser. So that's like the starting point of the application. So we have to go here, and inside the constructor we just call CEF native lib extractor extract. This throws an exception. Let's just try catch that like that. So this what this is going to do is actually just before because you can see below that it's just loading those libraries, which you can see that the names actually are matching the names of the libraries here. So if this is missing from the environment variable, it will just throw an exception. So that's why we're doing that before. Okay, so one more thing that we should do is create a Phat jar with all the dependencies. I mean that's optional, but for this example I'll just do that. So let me just get a example shade plugin because I don't have it on top of my head. I'll just go here. Okay, sorry, my bad. Okay, so we have the package, and let's try and build that now. Okay, so build is complete. We just go and copy that file. Inside here I'll just create a folder called lib, paste this jar file inside, and for this I'll just comment the other dependency like that. And now group ID, what was it, com example, and then the artifact ID was j-cef. Okay, so now we have to specify the system path, which is something like what was it here? Base dir, yeah, there. Okay, now we should, yeah, you can see that we actually loaded a library. So yeah, now we're actually working with this local library instead of the Maven one. So let's try another website, for example, and let's run and see if it works. Okay, so that's it pretty much. We have the latest version now of the Chromium browser. So I'll put this, I'll probably, if you want this jar file, I'll just send it to you, no problem. But hopefully that video helps you build the application, because I stumbled on, while I was building this, I couldn't find a video, so yeah, I hope this helps you. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.